Hello and welcome to the calculator guide video on standard form calculations on a Casio calculator. Now I'm doing this on a Casio fx-991EX Classwiz, but you may find this relevant to the type of calculator that you use. Let's take a look at the question. We've got to calculate 8.2 times 10 to the power 5 multiplied by 2.5 times 10 to the power 3. We've got two standard form or science notation numbers there, and we've got to give the answer in standard form. Second part there, we've got 5.3 times 10 to the negative 10 divided by 3.9 times 10 to the negative 3. Once again, we've got to give the answer in standard form, but this time to three significant figures. Let's start by changing the number format. That's the format in which we get the answers from the calculator, from regular decimals to standard form. So it's shift and setup, and then 3 for number format, and then 2 for science notation. And then we've got to choose between 0 to 9. Now this is the number of significant figures that will be displayed. Now 0 actually doesn't mean 0 significant figures, but this will be the fullest number of figures, whether they're significant or not. This sometimes can result in some insignificant zeros being displayed, but I'll show you what to do with that once we get the answer to the first part of the question here. So for now, we're going to choose 0. You notice that we've got psi written at the top here, just to indicate that our number format is science notation. Let's input the calculation, 8.2. Now there's in fact 3 different ways in which we can input the power of 10 there. Now the quickest, most convenient and best way of doing that is to use the dedicated button that we have here at the bottom, times 10 to the power of. It also helps to avoid the potential for an error, which I will show you when we do part B, the divide question. So let's use this at the bottom here, times 10 to that, and then we just go straight into the power, no need to press the power button. So it's power 5, so just press 5. Multiplied by 2.5, the button again, times 10 to that, and then 3. And press equals, and you can see here that we have our answer displayed, 2.05, and then we have some insignificant zeros, times 10 to the power 9. That's just to ensure that we've got the fullest calculated display, for example if we had more significant figures than that. If we need to write this answer down, then we can just write it as 2.05 times 10 to the 9 and ignore those insignificant zeros on there. Now we could have inputted this in a different way. So let's just delete off the times 10 to the 3 part, go back and let's say we inputted that as times 10 to the power 3. That would be absolutely fine here. The reason why is that everything's just being multiplied, so that still gives us the correct answer there. But we need to be very careful when we do the divide. So let's take a look at that. Let's start by inputting the numbers. So we've got 5.3 times 10 to the, and then I tend to use the negative number button here rather than the minus. It will still work with the minus, but it's a good habit to get into to just use the minus for subtraction and use the negative number button if you are inputting a negative number. So negative 10 divided by 3.9 times 10 to there, and then it's negative 3. And press equals. Here we have the correct answer, 1.35897 and so on times 10 to the negative 7. Now we'll deal with it to 3 significant figures for our final answer in just a moment. But let's just take a look at the potential error that could be made here. Now let's say that we'd inputted the divide by number in a different way. So let's just delete that off and let's go for shift and the log button. You can see that shift function is 10 to the power of here. So times 10, shift, and then that button, 10 to the power of negative 3. Right, so our answer looks very similar, but you can see that we've got a different power of 10 here, 10 to the power of negative 13, and that would be the same if we'd have just inputted times 10 and then used the any power button. Now what's happened here is it's a form of BIDMAS, BODMAS, PEMDAS error that's gone on. So what the calculator has done is multiplied 10 to the power of negative 10 by 10 to the power of negative 3 and got 10 to the power of negative 13, and then done 5.3 divided by 3.9. using the dedicated button at the bottom, the times 10 to the power of, that indicates to the calculator that this is a science notation or a standard form number, and is able to do the calculation as such. So you have to be very careful if you're using the shift and 10 to the power of function, or you're inputting 10 and then using the any power button. A way around this could be to use brackets or parentheses around your second number there. So let's try that. Put brackets around that, press equals, and yes, we've got the correct answer once again here, the correct power of 10, -7. Alternatively, you could use the fraction button and set up 2 layers, and then you can use different ways of inputting power of 10 on the bottom of your fraction there, but obviously the easiest and most convenient way of doing that is to use the dedicated button at the bottom there, so it's well worth getting into using that. So finally, let's just give our answer to 3 significant figures then. Now, I know that you're going to be able to round this yourselves, of course, but I will just demonstrate to you how the calculator can do this for you, just for your information. So it's shift and setup once again, and 3 for number format, and 2 for psi, and then this time we want to choose 3 for 3 significant figures. Press equal to verify our answer, and here we have our rounded answer, 1.36 times 10 to the -7. And just before we go, let's change it back to a regular decimal display. Shift, setup, 3 for number format. This time we're going to choose 3 for norm, and I typically choose norm 2 here. This will give us the greatest range of values before the calculator then defaults to standard form or science notation. It will do that automatically with really big and really small numbers in order for you to be able to see really big and small numbers displayed. But 2 gives you the broadest range, so I'm going to choose 2 here, press equals, and here you can see our answer as a regular decimal. So there we go, how we can do calculations using standard form, and the best button to choose, which is the dedicated button at the bottom there, and it helps avoid the error that may occur if you just input times 10 and then to the power of. So definitely worth getting into the habit of using that dedicated button for standard form input. Don't forget to like and subscribe for future videos, but that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you next time on the Calculator Guide.